The massive doors of the Grand Colosseum groaned open, revealing an arena that could swallow Earth's largest stadiums 3 times over. Dr. Sarah Chin stepped onto the polished obsidian floor, her hiking boots making soft squeaking sounds that echoed in the vast space. Above her, thousands of alien delegates from across the galaxy watched from crystalline viewing platforms that floated in the air without any visible support. She looked up at them and offered a small wave. Nobody waved back. Commander Zexlar stood in the center of the arena, all 4 of his muscular arms crossed over his chest. His scales shimmered deep purple in the artificial light, and his vertical pupils tracked Sarah's every movement like a predator watching prey. Behind him, 11 other species representatives formed a semicircle, each more intimidating than the last. So, Zexlar's voice boomed across the arena, translated instantly by the devices in Sarah's ear. Humanity wishes to join the Galactic Council. How amusing. A creature that looked like a floating jellyfish made a sound that the translator rendered as laughter. Look at her skin. So thin. One could tear it with barely any effort. No claws, observed it being covered in razor-sharp quills. No natural armor. No venom glands that I can detect. Sarah smiled politely and said nothing. She had been warned this would happen. Earth's application for council membership had been rejected twice already. The galaxy's established powers saw humans as weak, fragile things that had only recently figured out faster-than-light travel. They were not entirely wrong, she supposed. Zexlar raised one hand for silence. The Galactic Council has standards. Every species that wishes to join must prove they have mastered their world. Specifically, they must demonstrate control over their planet's apex predator. He gestured broadly at the arena. Today you will witness the strength of the Council's member species. Then, human, you will show us what Earth has to offer. The demonstrations began immediately. First came the Carwinal, an insectoid race whose carapaces gleamed like oil slicks. Their handler, barely visible inside an armored suit, released a creature they called a dreadhound. It was the size of a small car, with too many legs and a mouth that dripped glowing acid onto the arena floor, where it sizzled and smoked. The handler cracked a neural whip, and the dreadhound performed a series of attacks on holographic targets, dissolving each one in seconds. The crowd cheered. Sarah took notes on her tablet. Next came the Morphians, bird-like beings with feathers that shifted colors with their emotions. Their beast was called a sky cleaver, a flying predator with wingspan that seemed impossible for its body size. Its wings had edges like knives, and when it dove at practice targets, it sliced through reinforced metal as if it were paper. More applause. Sarah zoomed in with her tablet's camera, recording everything. The demonstrations continued for over an hour. Each species presented something more terrifying than the last. The Delpon brought an electric shark that swam through the air itself. The Thorian showed off a crystalline bear that could phase through solid matter. Every handler used shock prods, neural controllers, or containment fields. Every beast snarled, roared, or screamed. Every demonstration ended with the aliens bowing while their creatures strained against their restraints, desperate to attack anything that moved. Finally, Zexlar turned to Sarah. Your turn, human. Though I confess I am curious. Your file says you were a wildlife biologist before becoming an ambassador. Did Earth send a zookeeper to do a warrior's job? Some of the delegates laughed. Sarah tucked her tablet under her arm and walked closer to the commander. She stopped a few feet away and looked up at him. Even slouching, he was nearly 8 feet tall. Commander Zexlar, she said calmly, I need to make a call to my ship. Is that allowed? The reptilian's eyes widened slightly. You need to summon your beast from orbit? It is too large to bring down? Something like that, Sarah said, pulling out a small communication device. The arena filled with alien laughter once again. This would be entertaining indeed. Zexlar decided he would demonstrate first. He wanted this human to understand exactly what she was competing against. With a gesture of his upper right hand, a massive gate on the arena's eastern wall began to rise, its mechanisms groaning under the weight. The crowd fell silent. Even the delegates who had seen this before leaned forward in their seats. Sarah heard it before she saw it. Heavy footsteps that made the ground tremble slightly with each impact. Then came a sound like rocks grinding together, and finally, a low rumble that she felt in her chest more than heard with her ears. The Korvath emerged from the darkness of the tunnel. It stood 15 feet tall at the shoulder, its body covered in overlapping scales that looked like they had been carved from black volcanic glass. 6 legs, each as thick as tree trunks, carried its massive frame with surprising grace. Its head was wedge-shaped, filled with teeth as long as Sarah's forearm. But what caught her attention were its eyes. They glowed with a faint blue bioluminescence and they were intelligent. This was not just a mindless beast. The creature's scales began to pulse with light, waves of blue and red flowing across its body in patterns that Sarah recognized as threat displays. It was beautiful and absolutely terrifying at the same time. "Behold the Korvath," Zexlar announced, his voice filled with pride. "The apex predator of Zenther Prime, a world where the gravity is twice that of your Earth, where the atmosphere itself is toxic, and where only the strongest survive. These creatures hunt in packs. They can calculate trajectory and predict prey behavior. A single Korvath once brought down a cargo spacecraft by targeting its engines." Sarah watched as Zexlar approached the massive beast without any visible weapon or protection. He simply walked up to it and placed one hand on its scaled snout. The Korvath's eyes fixed on him, and the bioluminescent patterns on its body shifted to green. "For 10,000 years my people fought these creatures," Zexlar continued. "We lost entire cities to their hunts. But we Zenthari do not surrender. We do not retreat. We conquered them through strength and discipline." He snapped his fingers and the Korvath immediately dropped to a crouch, all 6 legs folding beneath it. The commander put the beast through its paces. Attack patterns that showed coordination and intelligence. The Korvath destroyed practice targets with precision, its venomous fangs injecting toxin into specific weak points. It demonstrated the ability to leap incredible distances, to dig through solid rock with its claws, and to follow complex commands given only through hand signals. When Zexlar raised all 4 arms in a final gesture, the Korvath rose on its back 4 legs, towering nearly 20 feet high, and released a roar that shook dust from the arena's ceiling. Every alien in the audience made sounds of approval in their own languages. Some bowed. Others struck their chests or stamped their feet. Sarah clapped politely. The sound seemed very small in the massive space. Zexlar commanded the Korvath back to its resting position and walked toward Sarah, leaving the creature behind. It did not move an inch without permission, despite the fact that its handler now stood 50 feet away with his back turned to it. The discipline was impressive. "Now then, human," Zexlar said, stopping in front of Sarah. His vertical pupils contracted as he looked down at her. "Your species is known to keep small animals as companions. Cats that catch tiny rodents. Dogs that bark at strangers. Are these the fierce beasts of Earth?" His mandibles clicked together in what might have been a smile. "What pathetic creature will you show us?" Sarah looked up at him and smiled back. She held up her communication device. "Commander, I received permission for the call, correct? I need to bring my companions down from the ship." "Companions?" Zexlar's head tilted slightly. "You need more than one? How many handlers does your beast require?" "Oh, no handlers," Sarah said, already pressing buttons on the device. "Just me." Sarah spoke into the communicator with the casual tone someone might use to call a friend. "Hey Kira, you can come down now. Yeah, bring Rex too. We're in the big arena, you'll see it." A voice crackled back through the device, but it was not translating into any known language. It sounded like excited barking. 5 minutes later, a small Earth shuttle descended through the arena's atmospheric shield and landed gently on the obsidian floor about 50 yards from where Sarah stood. The delegates murmured among themselves. Several leaned forward, expecting to see cages or containment fields or perhaps handlers in protective gear. The shuttle's ramp lowered with a soft hiss. Nothing emerged. Zexlar crossed his arms again, waiting. His Korvath remained motionless in its resting position, eyes tracking the shuttle with predatory focus. The arena was completely silent except for the hum of the floating observation platforms above. Sarah turned toward the shuttle, put 2 fingers in her mouth and whistled. It was a clear, sharp sound. 2 notes, the second higher than the first. Immediately, the sound of claws clicking on metal echoed from inside the shuttle. Then came the padding of feet, quick and light, nothing like the earth-shaking steps of the Korvath. A dog trotted out into the arena. She was a German shepherd, her coat a rich mixture of black and tan. Her ears stood straight up, alert and focused. She moved with the confident grace of an athlete, her tail in a neutral position, her eyes scanning the environment with clear intelligence. When she spotted Sarah, her tail began to wag and she quickened her pace. The dog reached Sarah and immediately sat down beside her without being told. Her shoulder came up to Sarah's hip. She looked up at her human with obvious affection, tongue lolling out in what looked like a smile. "Good girl, Kira," Sarah said softly, scratching behind the dog's ears. The alien delegates stared in confusion. Some made sounds that the translators could not quite interpret. Disbelief, perhaps. Or second-hand embarrassment. "There is another," the floating jellyfish being observed, pointing a tendril toward the shuttle. A second dog emerged, much larger than the first. He was a Caucasian shepherd, his thick coat making him look even more massive than his already substantial frame. He weighed at least 180 pounds with a broad chest and powerful legs. His coloring was lighter than Kira's, cream and gray. He moved more slowly, his eyes sweeping the arena with a calm, assessing intelligence. This dog, Rex, walked up to Sarah's other side and sat down as well. He was tall enough that Sarah could rest her hand on his head without bending down. Both dogs sat there, relaxed but attentive, their eyes on Sarah, waiting. The arena remained silent for a long moment. Then Zexlar began to laugh. It started as a low rumble and built into a full booming sound that echoed off the walls. Several other delegates joined in. This? Zexlar gestured at the dogs with one hand while he clutched his midsection with another, as if the laughter pained him. This is your apex beast? These fur-covered scavengers? They are barely the size of a Zenthari child. Sarah waited for the laughter to die down. She kept one hand on Kira's head, her fingers gently scratching. The dog's tail continued to wag slowly. Commander Zexlar, Sarah said when she could be heard again, you are making an incorrect assumption. Am I? The reptilian wiped at his eyes with one hand. Please enlighten me, human. Sarah looked down at Kira, then at Rex. Both dogs looked back at her with clear devotion in their eyes. She smiled, and when she spoke, her voice carried clearly across the arena. These are not Earth's apex predators, she said. These are what we made from our apex predators. Over 40,000 years we took the wolf, one of the most successful pack hunters in Earth's history, and we shaped it into this. She paused, letting that sink in. We domesticated our competition. The laughter in the arena faded slowly as Sarah's words registered with the translators. Several delegates replayed the translation as if they had heard incorrectly. You did what? Asked the quilled being, leaning so far forward it nearly fell from its platform. Sarah knelt down between both dogs, putting herself at eye level with them. Kira immediately turned her head to look at Sarah's face. Rex remained scanning the arena, but his ears swiveled toward Sarah, listening. 40,000 years ago, humans were not the dominant species on Earth, Sarah explained. Wolves were. They hunted in coordinated packs. They could bring down prey 10 times their size through strategy and teamwork. They were faster than us, stronger than us, and had better senses. She scratched under Kira's chin, and the dog's eyes half closed in contentment. So we did not fight them. We befriended them. Generation after generation we selected the ones who worked best with us. The ones who understood our gestures. The ones who wanted to cooperate. And over thousands of years, we created hundreds of different forms, each designed for different purposes. Zexlar had stopped laughing, but his expression remained skeptical. They look harmless. Decorative. Watch, Sarah said simply. She stood up and spoke a single word. Kira, sit. The German shepherd was already sitting, but she shifted slightly, becoming even more still and focused. Rex, down. The large Caucasian shepherd immediately dropped to his belly, his eyes never leaving Sarah's face. Kira, speak. The German shepherd barked once, sharp and clear. Good girl. Rex, quiet. Rex, who had not made a sound, remained silent and still. Anyone can train obedience through fear, the Morphean delegate said, its feathers shifting to a doubtful orange color. Your creatures follow commands. So does the Korvath. Sarah turned to face Zexlar directly. Your Korvath obeys because you conquered it. These dogs cooperate because they choose to. They are not my property, Commander. They are my partners. Zexlar's mandibles clicked together in irritation. Words. You speak pretty words, but I see no strength. I see no power. He turned and gestured toward his Korvath. Perhaps a demonstration of true dominance is needed. The massive creature rose to its feet, scales rippling with red bioluminescence. Its eyes locked onto Sarah and the two dogs. Commander, Sarah said calmly, are you challenging us? I am showing you the difference between a pet and a weapon. Zexlar raised his hand, preparing to give the attack command. Sarah's entire demeanor changed in an instant. Her casual stance shifted. Her voice dropped to a tone that carried absolute authority. Guard. Both dogs exploded into motion. Kira and Rex moved to position themselves between Sarah and the Korvath, but they did not bark or snarl. Their ears were forward, their bodies low and balanced, their eyes locked onto the massive creature. They looked like different animals entirely, transformed from friendly companions into focused predators in the space of a heartbeat. Zexlar brought his hand down. Korvath, engage. The massive beast charged forward, its 6 legs churning across the obsidian floor. The ground shook with each step. It opened its enormous jaws, venomous fangs gleaming. What happened next would be analyzed by military strategists across the galaxy for years to come. The dogs did not meet the charge head-on. They split apart, moving with a synchronization that spoke of thousands of years of pack-hunting instinct. Kira went left, Rex went right. The Korvath, committed to its charge, could not adjust quickly enough. Kira darted in from the side, her jaws snapping at the joint of the Korvath's front leg. She did not hold on or try to overpower it. She struck and retreated before the creature could react, forcing it to turn. As it turned toward Kira, Rex attacked from behind, targeting another leg joint with precision. The Korvath roared in frustration and confusion. It was built to overpower opponents, to use its massive size and strength to crush anything in its path. The battle lasted less than 3 minutes, though it felt longer to everyone watching. The dogs worked together like they shared one mind, attacking and retreating in perfect coordination. Every time the Korvath tried to focus on one dog, the other would strike from a blind spot. They targeted joints, tendons, and vulnerable areas with surgical precision. The massive beast grew more frustrated with each failed attack. Its bioluminescent patterns flashed chaotic colors. It lunged at Rex, jaws snapping closed on empty air as the big dog rolled aside. When it spun to catch Kira, she had already repositioned behind Sarah, forcing the Korvath to choose between attacking the dogs or their human. Then the Korvath made a mistake. It committed fully to an attack on Kira, its venomous fangs striking like a snake. Rex launched himself forward and took the bite meant for the smaller dog, his thick fur and skin absorbing most of the impact. The Korvath's fang pierced his shoulder, injecting venom. Rex yelped but did not retreat. Instead, he grabbed the Korvath's snout in his powerful jaws and held on, his entire body shaking with effort. Kira immediately attacked the creature's exposed throat area, her teeth finding purchase between the scales. The Korvath panicked. For the first time in the fight, it made a sound that was not a roar. It was closer to a whine. It tried to shake both dogs off, backing away rapidly toward its handler. "Heel," Sarah said, her voice cutting through the chaos. Both dogs released immediately and returned to Sarah's side. Rex was limping, dark venom spreading under his fur, but his tail was wagging. Kira pressed against Sarah's leg, her body still tense and ready. Sarah pulled treats from her pocket and gave one to each dog. "Good kids. Very good." The arena was absolutely silent. Zexlar stood frozen, all 4 arms hanging at his sides. His Korvath cowered behind him, making small distressed sounds. The creature that had seemed so terrifying minutes ago now looked confused and frightened. A Morphean scientist broke the silence, its scanner device beeping frantically. "Impossible. These creatures show markers for carnivore predators in their DNA, but their brains have been modified." "No, not modified. Evolved. Evolved specifically for cross-species cooperation. This level of genetic engineering should take millions of years, not thousands." "We did not engineer them," Sarah said, kneeling to examine Rex's wound. The big dog licked her face while she worked. "We simply chose which wolves to breed, generation after generation. We selected for traits we valued. Loyalty. Intelligence. The desire to work with humans rather than against us." She looked up at the assembled delegates. "You wanted to know about Earth's apex predator. The truth is simple. Humans are Earth's apex predator. Not because we are the strongest or fastest or most heavily armed, but because we have a gift that no other species in our world possessed." Sarah stood, keeping one hand on Rex's head for support as he swayed slightly from the venom. "We can make allies of our enemies. We can turn competitors into family." Wolves became dogs. Wild cats that could easily kill human babies chose to live in our homes and became companions. We befriended horses that could crush our skulls with a single kick. We taught birds of prey to hunt with us. We even domesticated insects. Bees produce food for us. Silkworms make our clothing. Bacteria in our laboratories create our medicine. Zexlar finally found his voice. He walked over to Rex and knelt down, examining the wound with surprising gentleness. "Your beast is injured. It protected you without hesitation." "He is not a beast," Sarah said quietly. "He is my friend. And yes, he would die for me. Not because I trained him to, but because that is what friends do." The commander looked at the venom spreading under Rex's fur, then at his own Korvath, which was still making nervous sounds. "I have commanded my Korvath for 15 years. It obeys perfectly. But if I were wounded, I do not think it would protect me. It would likely leave me to die."